To the story, around 300 people evicted from the inner city have still not been relocated. 5 years ago, Tanzanians, Malawians, Zimbabweans, Mozambicans, as well as some South Africans were kicked out. They were relocated to a site near Wembley Stadium. Here, they live in a tented camp and dilapidated building in harsh conditions and without proper sanitation. So let's discuss this now with Tebogo Tshehlo, who's from the Socio-Economic Rights Institute of South Africa. Tebogo, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Can you just bring us up to speed in terms of how did we get here? I know it happened 5 years ago, but just bring us into understanding the context of this conversation.
So, good morning, Faith, and thank you for having me. So the context around the eviction here is that the 200 people that I mentioned, it's three separate groups of people who were evicted from three separate buildings, and they were in different occupations of the building. So first we have the purchase mansions people. They were occupying purchase mansions in the inner city, and it was a sectional title scheme. So what happened was that the occupiers were included sectional title owners. It included as well occupiers and unlawful tenants. An eviction order was granted against them in 2017 because the building was declared unfit for human habitation. And then we have the next group. So they were relocated to the center in 2017, the facility, and they currently occupy park homes at the facility. The second group is the occupiers from Cape York. They were relocated to the facility in 2017 due to a fire that broke down at their building. So they were relocated to the facility, and they're currently occupying the camp tents, and they're currently staying in tents. And the third group is the former occupiers of Chung, who I mentioned. So they were evicted in terms of an eviction order which was granted in 2012. What happened was that at that point, the city did not have, it was not in a position to provide alternative accommodation. So they continued their occupation, and then they were relocated to the facility in 2016, and they occupy an old brick building which is in a very dilapidated state.
Sure. Then what happens? Because it sounds as though these are the forgotten people of the inner city, and somehow they've been placed in tented camps. They've been living there without proper sanitation. Anything been said in terms of exactly what happens now? Any alternative conversations where we're going to allocate different forms of housing to them or send them to another a building or the like? Or are they just being kept there and hopefully, hoping that the problem will go away?
So this is a common problem in Joburg, where the city neglects its TEAs. So we have been meaningfully engaging with the city to try and refurbish the facility as well as improve the state of its quality. But importantly, we've been meaningfully engaging with the city to try and provide services for the clients, because currently they do not have access to proper sanitation, as we have mentioned, water as well as electricity. And these are basic needs which are enshrined in the Constitution, but they still do not have access to them. So we've tried to meaningfully engage with the city. We have not received any positive response. And at this point, we understand that the city is not in a position to provide suitable accommodation. But what we require from the city is that it must do what it's required to do, which is providing proper sanitation to the facility, refurbishing the facility to make it in a state which is fit for human habitation, as well as providing services.
But then it also sounds very dangerous for the very same inhabitants to be there. If you're living in a site, so as to say, without water, without electricity, without sanitation, and the likes, that is a danger to you as an occupant. Do they themselves now not seek alternative accommodation, or is it because they just have nowhere else to go at this point?
Unfortunately, here we're dealing with people who are destitute. We're dealing with people who were occupying abandoned, dilapidated buildings in the city.
Yeah.
So they find themselves in a situation because they cannot afford to house themselves. So if they were able to house themselves, they would have left the facility and found alternative accommodation. But because here it's mostly unemployed people who make a living through informal work, they're unable to house themselves, and they need the assistance of the government.
Yeah. Tebogo, one wonders then how many of those people are actually individuals that hold legal documentation to be in South Africa, because as we're mentioning here that we've got Tanzanians, Malawians, Zimbabweans, Mozambicans as well as some South Africans. But those that do not come from South Africa, those are foreign nationals in the country, have they managed to even do some kind of an audit around how many of them are here legally and how many are here illegally? Because then that will be a completely different conversation, wouldn't it?
It would, but unfortunately we are not receiving any assistance from the city. We've tried to honestly, meaningfully engage with them to assist, because a lot of people lost their documentation during the relocation. So they still require their documentation, and we've tried to engage with the city to assist them to get those documentation, but however, we are not receiving any positive response from the city.
When you say not receiving positive response, Tebogo, what exactly are they saying to you?
They're saying basically that nothing. We've been trying to meaningfully engage with them, and we are not getting any sort of assistance from them or steps that they intend to take to ensure that they address the plight of the residents at the shelter.
And at this point in time, what's the way forward?
The way forward, unfortunately, is that we need the city to do what it's required to do in terms of the law. We need the city to honor its duties and obligations in terms of the constitution. We need it to come to party and literally assist these people, because they've been staying some are staying in tents since 2017. Some are in the building which does not have any access to proper sanitation, water, and electricity, and they're using informal connections to connect to electricity. So we need the city to come and maintain the property. We need the city to come and provide security at the property as well. They have said that they're not in a position to provide a suitable accommodation for the residents. So what we need them to do is to come to party and try to refurbish the facility and improve it and make it to a state where it's habitable for the residents.
Yeah, more than anything else, I think Tebogo at this point also doing an audit. Who's here legally, who's here illegally, what needs to be done to accommodate that phenomena as well, because it does not work because then if they are here illegally, that means that the city of Johannesburg is harboring illegal foreign nationals, right? And that in itself is a crime. You know, it is absolutely insane, as you're saying. But thank you so much for bringing the spotlight onto this issue back into our shores. Tebogo Tshehlo there, just giving us the insights in terms of exactly what's happening there in the inner city of Johannesburg.